As we both know all too well, New Jersey's getting pounded by this crazy virus at the moment. How are you and your family holding up?
Thanks for asking, Whoopi. And so far, so good. We have our entire family back here, all 4 children. 2 of our children lived in New York City. They moved back here about 4 weeks ago to live with us. So all 6 of us are together. And so it's been tough. Everybody's working from home. But on the other hand, it's actually been the silver lining of all this craziness is brought our family back together. And we've had 3-4 weeks in a row now where all 6 of us are at the dinner table together. And we try to look at the positive things as well. And that's certainly one of the positives.
That's nice, Governor Christie. This is Megan. I wanted to ask you what you thought of the press briefing yesterday. It was obviously very combative. It was actually President Trump's longest briefing yet. We all had different opinions on here. What did you think?
Well, Megan, I kind of agree with the way you put it off the top of the show. I think the press has been in a death spiral that the president participates in, which hurts both of them. I think that the questions are often combative and gotcha. His responses, I think, at times are beneath what he should be doing. And I've said to him any number of times that his press briefings should be much shorter. He should be there for 10 or 15 minutes off the top to deliver the big headlines, answer a few questions, and then leave the rest of it to Vice President Pence and to the folks on his team, the experts on his team. I don't think it helps the president in the long run to be in a hand-to-hand combat with any member of the media. You know, I think also the media has some measure of responsibility as well for some of the things that they do. So unfortunately, I think they're both hurting the situation here, and I think the president should be shorter, and I think the media should stick to topics that you know, are direct and that the people in the audience want to know the answers to.
So, Governor, so are you saying that the press should not call him out on his lies? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is, Joy, you can't just isolate one press conference. If you look over the course of the time of this entire crisis, but even go back further to the beginning of the presidency, you know, this has been a very combative relationship between the media and the presidency, and I'm not one of those people who just blames it on one side. I think both sides have shown over the course of this relationship that they're both too combative with each other. And I don't think it helps the president for him to act in some of the ways that he acts at times. And I don't think it helps the credibility of the media to be doing that either. I have a 26-year-old son who yesterday said to us, I can't watch CNN anymore, I can't watch MSNBC anymore, and I can't watch Fox anymore because no one's giving it to me straight. Now, that's the view of a millennial 26-year-old. And, you know, I think there's a lot of people in the country who feel that way.
Yeah. Well, all right, let me clear something up, because originally Trump said the governors should shut down the states on their own, that he wouldn't do it. Remember that? And now he's saying, as the president, he has the total authority to open them up. So constitutionally speaking, does he know what he's talking about? Do you have an answer to that? What is the truth of it? Who has the authority now to open up the states?
Well, listen, I think that there would be a real battle in court over this, because the president does, under a national emergency, have much broader authority than he normally does. On the other hand, as you well put, in the beginning, the president abrogated that responsibility to the governors and said, under a federalism argument, that he felt like the governors should be the ones to make those judgments. Having been a governor, I would be completely comfortable making those judgments on my own. So I think now it becomes harder to come back and do that in a purely legal way. But also, you have to look at the political side of this as well, Joy, and the practical side of it, which is that they have to figure out a way to work together. So my guess is that there will be compromises between whatever the president wants to do in his pace and what the governors want to do in their pace, because that's the political reality of it. They need each other. The states need the federal government to help support them from a financial perspective and otherwise, and the president needs the governors to be able to implement whatever plans he wants to be implemented, because the federal government just isn't built to do that. So legally, I think that because of the way this is played out, the governors probably have the better part of the argument on that, although it would be an argument if they decided to go down that route in the courts. But I think practically, politically, both sides have to figure out how to compromise an opening plan, because they both need each other.
Chris, I can't really get past the delayed response of at least 70 days from this administration and reports that this president repeatedly ignored early warnings on the virus. That falls squarely on the shoulders of this administration, and I think it cost American lives. You led a state during Superstorm Sandy. Actions matter, and inaction matters. Why won't this president take responsibility for just hiding his head in the sand and golfing?
Well, I don't agree. First of all, the golfing. See, Sonny, to me, that's part of what I talked about before about the death spiral. Okay, the golfing thing is just a gratuitous shot that we don't need to take. Believe me, members of Congress were golfing and doing. The president, the president and members of Congress and others in state governments, I'm sure, were playing golf as well at certain times. So I just think that's the kind of gratuitous shot that we don't need. Believe me, I'm aware, Sonny, that he's the president. I actually read the newspaper every day, and I'm aware that he's the president. Here's the thing that's much more subtle about this. This is a competing interest decision when you're a leader. Because remember, we now will talk about what's happened to the economy once we made the decision to close everything down. And the economy, and you have now over 12 million people unemployed, probably more to come in the weeks to come. There's a lot of competing interests. And also, I think, frankly, we weren't getting honest information from China. And I think that's part of what contributed to this as well, was that in the beginning we weren't getting, I think, the most honest, transparent information from where this virus started. And that matters as well, because you can't make decisions without complete information. But in the end, we're going to be able to look back on this after it's all over, and I think it's going to teach us how to do things differently, the same way that 9/11 taught us how to do things differently. We looked back on it. We broke down the walls between the FBI and the intelligence agencies. We put a director of national intelligence in place. We did a lot of things with the Patriot Act and others afterwards that I think in large measures helped to keep this country safe for all the time since then. So there'll be plenty of time to look back.